Hello YouTube, RJ Carter here, and for this one, it's going to do a little bit of freelance, kind of just get into the concepts of consistency and discipline, and as well as the quote, probably talked about this before, but it's from excerpts in Tools of Titan by Tim Ferriss, and he basically has an excerpt from two people. One of them is Tony Robbins, and they basically say, we don't need more information. We just need consistency. It's not what we know, it's what we do. But basically what he's saying is, like, if more information was the answer, then we'd all be billionaires with six packs. And so it's not information, it's what we do consistently. And then from that, you kind of get into the self-help spectrum. And I've actually noticed this a lot with podcasts, because a lot of the times, they always interview people of successful calibers, usually in the entertainment industry, or they're authors and stuff, some kind. And they'll tell you their origin story. They'll tell you the trials and tribulations and the projects they're working on now. And then eventually they'll get to the point in the podcast where they talk about, like, how they made it and how other people can make it, and how what they did and what not to do and what advice they have. And at the end of it all, it always boils down to, like, it just needs an extreme amount of work, an extreme amount of skill, knowledge, preparation, etc. And at first, you kind of get a dopamine high. Now, I wouldn't call it dopamine high, but you kind of get this, like, this fantasy when you listen to podcasts that, oh, I can make it too. I just need to do this, And a lot of times, all the information we have, we had a long time ago. I would argue all the information we really needed, we had it all in 2013, as far as, like, from my perspective, as far as, like, how to create and craft, and how to be an author, how to be just a self-influencer, better, to better yourself, just everything from, getting, healthy to, making money, even, making a website and stuff like that. And it kind of, boils down to, all the tools and information is there. You got Code Academy, Khan Academy, you Duolingo, from those three sites you can learn, economy, finance, calculus, to coding, programming, HTML, SEC, as well as languages, virtually any language in the world, right? And so it's not what we know, it's not the tools even, it's literally what we do consistently. And that's kind of the thing we've been avoiding, that's the, I guess the reason might be is the quote, our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate, is that we're powerful beyond measure. So that might play a role, that might play a hand in it. But, then it's another quote of discipline, and we could go on from there. You could Google discipline quotes and go on images or whatever, and get a whole nother spectrum from that. But yeah, to talk about this one, it's the consistency. You kind of can see this in the YouTube channels, and I guess a lot of it is probably the deterrent factor of why haven't I got this yet, and I kind of put the metaphor of abs in, to gain abs. Bill Burr had a joke about this, after 18 years old, to get abs, you gotta have a trainer, you gotta, do all these extra things, just to get one pack kind of thing. And so it kind of is the concept of, like, man, I've been, doing ab crunches and eating good and eating healthy for a whole month. And yes, there's progress, but is the work that I'm doing worth the actual results? And maybe not. And then it goes back into another excerpt from a book. I believe it's Unfuck Yourself, and Pardon My Language, and it is, I forgot the author's name, but he had a quote in there which was like, nobody likes to work, no man likes to work, but the results are what we do it for. You kind of have to exude, you kind of have to escape from the monotony and the pains and what have you. And even a craft is writing. Writing, that's a painful process, to come up with concepts and ideas, to physically sit there and to type away, and to work your mind and work, and just kind of push your boundaries or whatever, and kind of go back and edit, coming up with concepts or what have you, and a lot, it's a very disciplined aspect. But such is the life, such is the existence. And it goes back to the famous, I wouldn't call it famous, but just the Bible, the Bible, one of the best-selling books in the world. And it goes back to Genesis. I don't want to say the number of the Genesis line, but basically, man is cursed to toil and work through his days. And so, and then it gets to other religions of Buddha, life is suffering, right? And then goes on from there. But in either case, what can we do but create, go to work, wake up, have an existence, have a reality where you continue to propel, continue to push, continue to read, continue to gather information, knowledge, understandings, and wisdom in this life. And it would seem that, Sadhguru Guru was talking about, what we're all seeking is joy. What we're all seeking, whether, whatever business venture, whatever, relationship, whatever sport, whatever physicality, whatever project, we're all seeking joy. We're all seeking a state where we are peaceful within. And his whole argument in his book, as well as yoga and these esoteric Eastern religions and teachings, is that it's all within you. It's within your body, within your cells, within your mind, within your, within your functionings of your five senses. But, and on another spectrum, the Christianity would say, and I even read a comment about this, but it's because the idea would be, you experience life through your five senses, so you actually gain your inner peace inside you. Everything that you're seeing and perceiving from the world is inside you. So once your inner reality is joyful, then the outside reality will be joyful as well. You kind of can put this to where, and basically what he talks about is you don't want to be a slave to the outside world influencing your own thoughts and realities, whereas if you're, let's say, a yogi or a sage who has, the inner alchemies of your being balanced, you could be either in a jail cell, a cave, or, in Disneyland or whatever, you'll still be peaceful and joyful. Whereas if you're, a quote-unquote Western, Americanized, westernized human being, where you get influences from the outside world, if you're in a jail cell, you're miserable. If you're at Disney World, Disneyland, you're happy, you're, salient, you're enjoying life. If you're in a cave, you're probably lonely and scared, etc. So goes on from there, but it's a wishy-washy thing, and I would argue that there's a little bit of truth in everything. It's great what Ty Lopez was saying. Take a gemstone from this concept, take a gemstone from that concept, and kind of build up your cachet. And he says that as in he was talking about books. Books, they have a lot of information in them, and a lot of it is kind of like fluff. A lot of it's to fill up pages so they could have a thick book so the publisher can price it at $15 or whatever. But but there's only a few nuggets, you kind of have to gold mine. There's only a few golden nuggets in the book, and the rest of it is essentially dirt or whatever. But unless if you enjoy reading the book cover to cover, that's all up to you. So it's all, the point of the book is to be enjoyed. It's to learn from it, it's to grow from it, it's to challenge yourself physically, psychologically, from a philosophical standpoint, religious standpoint, or what have you. But kind of getting back to the point, Sadhguru Guru concept of this element of perceiving and obtaining joy. And the argument would be, the westernized, the Christian, the real knowledgeable Christians, they'll say that's kind of a bogus thing, right? I mean, the outside world. Because then we get into the concept of, religion. Whereas, where did your body come from? The chicken and the egg argument. How do you change your reality? Are you saying that, people that are suffering are creating their own realities unconsciously, what have you? And, and then you kind of get into the, is everything a hologram in this reality? Is it, X and O's coding? Is the mind in and of itself a hologram? Is this reality in a hologram? Is it a false, is it a fake world? And then you get to the, esotericism and wisdom teachings of, the Gnosis doctrines and what have you, and Taoist teachings and what have you. But, and even, now I'm thinking about, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and the Stoic philosophers, they kind of talk about this extensively as well. They actually kind of, I wouldn't call it pioneer, but they very intellectually break down this concept of, it's your inner being that shapes the outside world. The inner balance of yourself, the inner balance of your mind, your eating habits, etc. And it could be argued that once you have the foundation, everything else kind of does settle in, right? I mean, if you, if you wake up positive one day, if you wake up happy, and you end up, disciplined, and you do your yogi practice or your meditations on Stoic philosophy, you'll eat healthier, you eat better, and when you eat healthier, you eat better, you can function the day better. When you can function the day better, it becomes a little more effortless, more easy, more connections, and all these other things come in by proxy. All these things that bring you joy come in by proxy. But every now and again, it is good to look within. It is good to harbor that, concept of, simply seeing what it is that needs to be changed and what it is that can manifest itself. And for this one, we're going to keep it short. Until next time, though, peace.